Hi, my name is Jana Hamilton. Welcome to my presentation on low back pain and sacroiliac joint pain that you can do for self-care and preventative measures. We're going to proceed first with self-myofascial release. Self-myofascial release is a really good way to loosen the body, understand its symmetry, and help you get the most out of your other treatments that you're receiving. It's something you can do every day so that you can make sure that there's nothing, one side's not tighter than the other, and keep everything balanced, and it'll make you feel much, much better throughout the day. Now, one way we approach this is self-myofascial release is warming up the muscle tissue. Kind of like somebody actually giving you a manual massage. Three ways of warming up the tissue. Manually, with a device. You can actually use application of moist heat. So if you're really, really tender, that's a good place to start, is moist heat, so everything relaxes a little more. Then the myofascial release. And you can also do movement warm-ups. So we'll go through the movement warm-ups that you can do that are really good to help loosen up the lower back before you actually get on into any stretching or anything. Raising your heart rate is important. So you can do with a little in-place jogging, overhead movements, raise your heart rate a little more. It'll make your body hot and ready and loose. You'll feel things more liquid and fluid. You can do that for 5 minutes. There's also leg kicks. You can feel the stretch in the hamstring. Just go to however you're comfortable. No leaning over crazy. Elbow to knee, so high knees. Leg swings. Each side, obviously. Hip circles all the way around the world. Don't forget to go the other way. Butt kickers. We push our heel into the butt, activating the hamstring. Forward bends, so bend from the hip. There's a flat back. And come on up nice and slow, nice and slow. Open gates, close the gate. Do that on each side. And we're going to get started with foam rolling technique. Now, I usually start with the glutes first because it's the biggest muscle in the body. You're going to want to sit on your foam roller so that your butt bone is rocking back and forth over the roller. You'll get better at this, I promise. And we're going to come all the way up to the top part of your pelvis and sacral area. So move on. And you might feel a difference between the two sides. One of the key things to keep in mind is foam rolling should not be painful to the point where you're uncomfortable. It should be a pain scale of 1 to 10, 10 being extreme. It should never be more than a 7. So if I were really hurting right now, 1, I might need to see a professional. 2, lifting the body weight up off or putting the foam roller against the wall if you are having trouble getting on the floor is another really, really good option. And don't forget about the moist heat. So moving on to the next area, over to the side of the hip and glute. Okay. We're working from here to here, basically. Okay. And even as we rock a little bit further so that our pelvis is perpendicular, you're going to find some tight areas. Going slow. If you find a really tender area, pause a moment. If the pressure is comfortable, take a deep breath in 3 breaths, and you should feel it kind of relaxing a little bit. If it's still a little painful, I don't want you to just stay there forever because you don't want to wind up bruising yourself. So all you do, go to another area and work on that for a little bit and then come back. But right now, for demonstration purposes, we'll move on to the side, facing forward with your pelvis on top of the roller, just like so, on the ground. Okay. We're going to rock to the side. This portion of the thigh is what we're working. Okay. Can be very tender here. Most people are really surprised at how much pressure is actually there. Okay. Do both sides, and then when you're ready, come on back down. Moving on down the quadriceps, and just pull yourself along the mat, stopping before you get to the kneecap. And the slower you go with your foam rolling, the better, because your body has time to respond to what you're trying to achieve. Coming on back up, we want to work the inner thigh. So, anybody a side sleeper, you're going to use this like a body pillow. You come down onto your side and put your knee up on the roller and roll into it. You can use your hand to help you come back, going all the way up, almost all the way to the groin, pretty much right there. Putting body weighted pressure all on the inner thigh on both sides. Hamstrings. Opposite of the quadriceps, just pulling yourself back. If you want more pressure, just cross your foot over, and that will deliver more pressure on your leg. Okay. I'm going rather quickly. I really, really encourage you to take your time. You could do a half hour of foam rolling if you wanted to. Onto the IT band, the side of the thigh. Okay, working from the top. Put your foot up behind you so that you can lift yourself up off of it. And this one obviously is probably the most challenging for everybody. If you're really having a hard time, please get up and take it to the wall. However, if you just go really slow, take your time breathing, little baby steps. If you've released all the other areas first, the IT band should be much more comfortable. And I have a challenge. Do your IT band first, and then do all the glute and other releases. Then go back to the IT band, and you'll see how much better it feels. Because we're working muscle attachments. And the IT band is a ligament. But if the muscles are really tight, the ligament stays tight, and we have that jump reaction. It's really tender. Okay? So next, on down the spine. Rolling little crab walk all the way up to the base of your neck. Nice and slow. You may get a few crack popples. And allowing yourself to come back up to the starting position, standing on up. Okay. Next. Common trigger points. Now, for this, you may want to use a tennis ball, a golf ball, a lacrosse ball. I also have this nifty little gadget. You've probably seen them in the stores. This is a back buddy. Again, if anybody wants any of this equipment, please just send me a message. I'll give you a link to where to find it, but I think everybody has a tennis ball. So, I like using the wall for this. You have glute minimus. Right? Glute minimus. We have a picture here with little X's, and their preferred pain pattern is in red. So you'll find X's and red pattern. It can refer pain there, But the reason why we're treating them is because with low back pain, you need a stable, even pelvis to make sure that your lumbar spine can be in alignment before you work on anything else. So we're going to actually work on that high area right in here. You might have noticed on the foam roller how tender it was. So you can just come over to your wall. The further you step away, the more pressure you can feel, and you can manipulate, kind of moving yourself up and down. Okay. We have glute medius, which we're showing right here. It's a little bit further back on the glute at the top part of your pelvis, the ridge right at the top of the pelvis, right in here. All those attachments right in here. Just leaning back against the wall and pressing, working side to side. Next one you want to pay attention to, quadratus lumborum, which is a little bit higher. You can't see the X that well. Not right on the spine, but to the side above the pelvis, right in here. You can get a little bit of pressure, lean in, again, the same principle. The front portion here is the tensor fascia lata, the TFL. The top portion of the IT band, that's why when you were face down, it was quite tender, but you can find leaning against the wall, working that if you have your good old massage therapy tool. You can use that. You can use it also for trigger point therapy here on your glute medius, reaching behind. My caution with hard objects, because the release feels good, the endorphins are going, it feels like it's a great idea to press really hard for a long amount of time. Don't do it. You will regret it. You will bruise the tissue. That's why I recommend starting off with the tennis ball, because it has a little give, has a wider surface area, and it won't bruise you like this tool will. So I'm going to save this for a time when you feel like you've really mastered doing trigger point therapy on yourself. Okay. On next. Stretches. We have what most people know of the static stretches are quadriceps stretch, knee pointed down, pelvis forward, chest high. Okay? You want to hold static stretches 20 to 30 seconds. But make sure you're only doing static stretches when you've warmed up or you've worked on the foam roller, because a cold muscle does not respond to any kind of stretch very well. Hamstring stretch. You can do a standing hamstring stretch, hand on the bent leg, toe up, putting your heel pressure into the ground. Okay, doing both sides. Next recommendation, the piriformis stretch. You can do this sitting on the ground, but I'm going to show it to you standing. So you can cross your ankle over your knee. You can do this lying on the ground and pull your knee into your chest. Okay. Very good stretch. Love it. Gets right in that hip joint right there. Okay. Coming on up, we also have the tensor fascia lata, glute minimus, quadratus lumborum stretch. Crossing the front leg over the top and tilting to the side, pushing your pelvis in the opposite direction. Okay. Make sure you're comfortable, don't strain the position. And then to get a different angle on it, moving forward, reaching at an angle a little bit more forward. And I think psoas stretch. You're gonna come in into a lunge with your heel down on the ground and reaching backward. So you feel the stretch in through this portion of the body, squaring your hips and reaching backward. Okay. Last stretch is a little bit of hamstring, but also inner thigh adductor stretch. Feet wide. Drop on down, nice and slow. Okay. Once you're here and you're comfortable, Bend the knee to the side, and there you've got your inner thigh stretch. Making sure you do the opposite side. Slow return up. And now on to my favorite, the contract, relax technique. You're gonna find you get more range of motion out of this technique than any other. Okay. First, the piriformis stretch. Okay. Crossing your ankle over your knee, bringing your knee in as far as you can. So this is my full range of motion in the stretch. That's as far as I can go. I'm gonna hold my leg in place as I push this leg in that direction toward the wall. So you're gonna feel like you're trying to push yourself downward without moving. So full range, push, don't hold your breath. Take 3 breaths, release. Give it a moment, come back, pull it on up, oh, a little more range of motion, and push. And release. You can do that 3 times each side. The next stretch, you can use a yoga strap, resistance band, or the belt from your robe, or a towel. Okay. My leg is straight. The opposite leg is straight, flat down. This leg remains straight. If there's a bend in your knee, you're pulling it too far back. Scale it back. If this is as far as you can go, this is as far as you can go. We're aiming for a 90-degree angle, right? So we're gonna hold it still and then push against the resistance, trying to bring our leg back down and holding it, breathing. One more. And rest. Make sure you bring your leg down all the way so your muscle can relax to full resting length. Then you're gonna test your range of motion again. All right, so I got a 5% increase just on that one contraction. You can get about 14 degrees of more range of motion sometimes if you do this effectively. It's one of the best stretches I think I've ever come across. So activating a partially contracted muscle makes it want to rest at full resting length, and that's why we bring it down and give it a moment. There are also active range of motion stretches that you can do that are similar, but those are really good beginners, easy for you to do by yourself. Okay. Low back traction and self-adjustment, okay? You can use a chair, putting your knees up nice and comfortable, taking your hands like so, right at the base of your thighs, and pushing in the opposite direction away, so you get an elongating of the lower spine, and your lumbar spine is in neutral by having your feet up and pelvis up. It's instead of having a curve underneath, it's now flattened, and you can get a little bit of traction. They also have a low back traction device that you can use, or putting a bar across your legs and pushing away. Next, we have cat-cow. Okay, on your hands and knees, pulling the back up, pushing the head down, the pelvis comes in, and then dipping down. Okay. You can do those exercises several times in a row. There's pelvic tilt, where you would be flat against the wall and tilt your pelvis backward. You're tucking your pelvis in like you're squeezing your buttocks together, trying to hold something in between your cheeks and tilting everything up. That's another good one to do. And we also have the spinal twist, which is another on the ground movement. This is something that's done in yoga quite a bit. Arms are out to a T. Top leg comes over, head looks opposite direction, and let yourself fall into the position. Let it rest there for a few moments. Bring your leg and head to neutral. Switch sides and do the other side. So that's another one that you can do as long as you're not in a position where you're in spasm or pain at the moment. If you're comfortable and you're doing it as prevention measures and there's no spasming or pain, you should be good to go. Back exercises for strengthening and conditioning. We have glute bridges, step outs, squats, wall sits, abdominal exercises, knee raises, and the plank. So what I recommend is if you're in a little bit of a pain cycle, it's not always good to start exercising and strengthening until you're out of a pain cycle. Because if you're walking around like this and you're trying to do squats, how do you think your form is going to be? Terrible. I know that's a bad exaggeration, but you can wind up spasming more because there's going to be weakness in your posture, in your form, and it's going to wind up hurting you even more and putting you behind. So we're going to move on. One of my favorite exercises for low back care is a glute bridge. On your back, feet shoulder width apart, almost touching your fingers pretty much. Okay. Squeezing your glutes together, creating a straight line from your knee to your shoulder. And depending on whether you're a beginner or advanced or not, you can hold these for 10 seconds, 30 seconds, before you lower slowly to the ground. And then repeat. So isometric holds activates the low back without putting pressure on the low spine. Step outs or clamshells or leg lifts. Okay. Side leg lifts. Okay. Nice and slow. If you're moving them too fast, you're not doing any favors for yourself. Nice and slow. Clamshells you can do the same way with a band around your knees. And then we have my favorite step outs. These can be done with your trusty resistance band. I use this for so many things. Okay. You want to step on it, shoulder width apart, cross the bands in the front. More resistance, the higher up you go. Stepping out to the side with your knees bent and bringing it back. You can alternate sides, do the same side. Okay. The key is not bringing your feet together and having a bend in your knees. So if I try to step out from here, I can't do it. It is very awkward. So there's got to be an athletic stance that you're doing your step outs with. And you'll feel that burn. It's excellent. 1 minute rounds. Then we have our squats. Basic squat mechanics. Protect your knees. If you need to hold on to a bedpost or the corner of something that's nice and sturdy so that you don't feel like you're falling over, I want the bottom to lead down so that my knees are not going over my toes and I'm sitting. So my top part of my body is sitting. I'm going to squeeze my glutes to get up and nice and slow back down. Okay. Aim for parallel with the floor. You don't have to get into super deep squats to have a good effect. And the next exercise, wall sits. Same principle. Leaning against the wall, feet shoulder width apart, Isometric hold for 30 seconds. If you can't manage it, come up out of it for a break and work up to 30 seconds. Abdominal exercises. Now, I like abdominal exercises that are low stress on the low back. And these can be tricky because everyone is different, but here is a great option for the beginner ab exercise. Laying on your back, hands in a triangle position underneath your sacrum. Okay? Bringing your knees up and extending them out at a 45-degree angle and back. Okay? It's a nice, gentle way to begin. If you're too low and you don't have the strength, the strain will be in your low back and not in your tummy. Okay? So make sure you're always working from your tummy. Okay? So the more advanced version of that is double leg, lower all the way to the ground, almost touch, don't touch, and come back up. Okay? You can do single legs. We've got our bicycle crunches, opposite knee, opposite elbow. Okay, this is flattening your low back. Okay, and side toe touches. And we have knee raises, which are also a psoas exercise, but the abdominals work as well. So even with balance, holding and repeating. And the reversion with that resistance is you can either put ankle weights on or you can use a loop band. Love loop bands. There's so many things you can do with a loop band. We're going to go back down to the ground. Okay. Putting the loop band around the arches of your feet, bringing the knee up and extending. Okay, all the way. Now, if you're just beginning exercise and you don't have abdominal strength or core strength, you should not be starting planks. And this is a very common thing that I've seen across the internet is ways to strengthen your low back. And they start them out with planks. If you don't have stability, you should not be doing a plank. If you have a shoulder injury, you should not be doing a plank. Okay? So this is only for the people who are pretty strong that are able to do a plank with good form. And again, I always recommend, if you have any questions about anything, please let me know, email me, call me, schedule a one-on-one session with me. Right now we can do it through the internet, or you can come into the studio at a later date and I can write a personalized prescription. We'll do every single exercise and go through it and do exactly what's right specifically for you. But here's our plank. Beginner, from the knee, straight arm, cross, just holding in that position. We want to work up to 30 seconds. No need to do a 2-minute plank. There's no research evidence that says that's beneficial in any way. Elbow plank. Okay. Then you have straight arm plank. Okay, keeping that pelvis nice and low. And then you have elbow flat plank. So, getting the butt down nice and low. Should not be up here. That's not really doing too much of anything. We're bringing it flat, like a plank. So I just wanted to run through some core things that I really found people have been able to tolerate really well, that has a huge effect in balancing them side to side and preventing low back pain and injury. We also have some other modalities that you can do, which would be massage therapy. Come see me. We have chiropractic care. We have acupuncture. There is, proper nutrition and supplements that can help with joint pain and inflammation. We also have avoiding long periods of sitting or standing. Even postural muscles get tired of standing all day long. So taking a break, lying flat on the ground can always help for a few minutes. At the end of your workday, come in, lay something flat on the ground with your knees bent so you can take that decompression time. Then, weight loss, that's a big one. The more weight, that's why pregnant women, you'll see the little sway back, all the weight in the front is pulling them down. So if you have large belly, large legs, it will affect the way that your bone symmetry and joint alignment is and put a lot of strain on your soft tissue. The next one I have is having a supportive enough mattress. A lot of us are side sleepers, we're not using our pillows correctly, or we just have an old mattress that is sunken down and totally not supporting your lower back. Orthotics are also, typo. Orthotics can also be a base level foundation corrector. And then finally, the last resort, if necessary, a surgical procedure. So I hope that takes care of a lot of your questions and needs about low back pain. Please feel free to make a donation online if you like this video and share it with others so we can be happy, healthy, and well. God bless.